92% of this book, really good time. A really good time. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Read, share, repeat, where we discuss books from the perspective of an aspiring fantasy author. Me, Carrie Share. And today I am doing a slightly belated May reading wrap-up. I had a really great reading month in April, not in quantity, but in quality. It was a period during which I had one of my largest streaks of highly rated books in a row. Although one very low rated book brought down the average, I have found myself over the last couple of months really enjoying what I have been reading lately. And I don't know if it's because of the books that I'm picking or just blind luck, but that lucky streak continued into May, and I had yet another great run of books that I really enjoyed. Again, the quantity was not super impressive, but the fact that I liked so many of them, not just liked, really loved in some cases, so many of them, tells me that I am in a really good spot right now with my reading. So first we're going to take a look at my stats for May. Again, not super impressive. In May, I read to completion 6 books. Of those 6, 2 books were physical and 4 were ebooks. Those 6 books totaled to 2,442 pages. 3 came from my local library. As for my genres, 5 of the 6 were fantasy, no surprises there, but 1 was nonfiction, a newcomer to my stats. And the thing I'm most happy about, my average star rating came out to 4.07. I'm pretty sure that's the highest average rating I've ever had in a single month. So to get into the books themselves, I started out the month with Iron Widow by Shiren J. Zhao. And this is a YA kind of fantasy sci-fi story that is based on Chinese history and mythology and has elements of Pacific Rim incorporated into it. The story follows a young woman named Zetian who is on a quest for revenge after her beloved sister perished during a military operation in which she was the, quote, concubine pilot to a male pilot of these giant mecha, which have been designed, kind of reverse engineered from alien technology. And the aliens are continually attacking this area. And so the society has come up with a way to combat them by using their own materials against them and building these giant robots. And the way they have designed these robots is that it requires 2 pilots. Traditionally, the male pilots feed off the energy of the female pilots, almost always causing them to pass away during the maneuver. And society has deemed this an acceptable loss. So there are many well-known male pilots known for how strong they are, while they just can continue to use up female pilots as just like an energy source. And Zetian's sister was one of these concubine pilots. So Zetian has contrived to join the military as a concubine pilot with the goal of killing the pilot who caused the death of her sister. Only when she gets inside the robot and she is doing this mental battle with this pilot, she realizes that she's actually way stronger and does in fact kill him. But the government sees use for her and pairs her with another male pilot who is kind of known for being a murderer, but also being extremely ruthless. But everything, of course, is not as it seems, and as she learns more about her new co-pilot, they decide that they want to turn this government's method of battling the aliens against them in a quest for revenge for them both. This is kind of a dark story, especially for a YA. However, the fact that it was YA meant that I wasn't really able to sink into the world as much as I wanted to, just because of its length and its target audience. There just wasn't enough world building or depth to the setting that I personally like. That said, I enjoyed my time with it a lot more than I thought that I would. One of my favorite elements was the fact that there was a love triangle that was an actual triangle, as in each point connected to each other and not just a V with the female character in the center. I was really surprised by that, really enjoyed that. And while I often say I don't like to be depressed in my spare time, and this was definitely depressing, I enjoyed my time with it and I am planning on reading the sequel. I ended up giving Iron Widow 3.5 stars. Unfortunately, after that, I hit kind of a skid, a little bit of a slump, and didn't read anything for like 2.5 weeks. But I am pleased to say that when I finally did come out of it, my first book was The River Has Roots by Amal El-Motar. And this is not quite a novella, novella, but not quite a short story either, but it follows two sisters who have been raised kind of on the edge of a fairy world and who belong to a family who have always been sort of guardians for the gateway into this fairy world. And one of these sisters has fallen in love with one of these fae creatures, and this fae creature has fallen in love with her. And throughout the story, she must reconcile her love for this creature, her lover, and her love for her home and her sister, and has to decide if it is even possible to bring both sides together. It was a really lovely story about sisterhood and love and faith and how far you will go to spare your loved ones the heartache of losing you. And I ended up giving The River Has Roots 4 stars. Unfortunately, what happened next is probably going to be a highly unpopular opinion because I had to DNF a book that I have heard many, many wonderful things about from reviewers I trust and that I went into honestly expecting to love. And that is Little Thieves by Margaret Owen. I am so sorry, but I could not get through this book. I had picked it out to read alongside A Sorceress Comes to Call for a Who Wore It Better style vlog of Goose Girl retellings. And like I said, I've heard a lot of really, really great things about this series from reviewers I have faith in and trust. It did not work for me on any level. My main complaint was that I thought there was just too much going on. Way too many plot elements. We've got this girl who was abandoned by her mother and raised by these pair of goddesses. We've got the stolen identity element. We've got the fact that she is living a double life as a thief and a princess, which was her stolen identity. We've got the curse going on. Then we've got this investigator who's hunting her. And we've got this weird timetable that she has put on herself to earn enough money to leave the realm entirely. And it was just so like dense in concepts and ideas and things and plots, and it just made it so confused. Not confusing, confused. I honestly felt like what are you even doing? And one of the things I struggled with so much was like the main character's fixation on getting 100 gold or 1,000 gold to leave the realm. And it's just like, she comes up and she's got like 890 and she's like, oh, it's not enough. And it's just like, why are you so fixated on this number? Like at first I thought there was a specific reason she needed that much, but at the point that I DNF'd, it wasn't a specific number. She just needed as much as she could. And it's just like, why are you lollygagging? 890 is still a lot of fucking money that you've managed to steal. Why are you so fixated on this magical 1,000? And then she like has this curse that a different goddess bestowed on her. And that honestly seemed like the way it was kind of handled seemed very like flippantly, like it wasn't that big a deal, even though supposedly it was going to kill her. It was just so weird. And then I also couldn't understand why she was so convinced that the goddesses who raised her were expecting her to live a life of servitude once she became of age, or once she like whatever it was. Because when they show us the scene, when we actually saw the scene of that happening, I didn't get that vibe at all. And so it seemed like a very like contrived way to put the character on the path that she was. But I had the sense that if I got to the end of the book, that the goddesses would be like, no, that's not what we meant at fucking all. And maybe I'm wrong, but that was the sense I got, because it seemed pretty obvious to me that that's not what the intent was. And she just misinterpreted it and was like, my mothers don't love me because all they see of me is a servant. And it's just like they're constantly showing up to help her and all this stuff, and it just like I didn't get that part at all. It didn't seem very well driven home, or it didn't seem convincing that was the real root of her issues. It just seemed like she definitely misinterpreted it and then ran with it. There was so much going on, and at 35% I was like, that was the reason I was slumping, to be honest with you, because I started that on the 12th and it took me 12 days to get to 35%. I didn't hate it. It was not for me, I guess. I was just so like, there was just too much. I didn't love it. There was pick 2 or 3 of these, not 5 or 6, and let the rest go. Like, how much do we really need the goddess story? Really? How much? At the point that I left on, you didn't need it at all. You could have just made her a servant girl who lived in the palace, who saw an opportunity to steal the life of a princess and took it, and then wanted to get out of town and steal all this money. Anyway, it just felt like too much. Just felt like way too much. Oh, and that was the other thing. Every time she like had an opportunity to help herself, she did like the worst possible thing about it. Like she could not let go of steal money, leave town, get money, you know, and it was just like, girl, let it go. You have got way bigger problems right now. Anyway, it was just, I was not a fan. And so I had to scrap that whole video idea because I couldn't finish it. And it really like put me off. And because I was filming it for a video, I didn't feel like I could read anything else until I finished it. Anyway, it was not a good time. I ended up DNFing it. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't get it. I didn't get the hype. It felt like spaghetti had been thrown at the wall and I couldn't take any more of it. So after that, at the same time that I was reading that, I was also keeping pace by reading A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. And as soon as I DNF'd Little Thieves, I picked up A Sorceress Comes to Call and finished it in one sitting. So like I definitely knew it wasn't a slump that was affecting me. It was just that book. As for A Sorceress Comes to Call, this is a Goose Girl retelling by T. Kingfisher. This is a YA fantasy horror, and I loved it. That shouldn't be a surprise. I love pretty much anything that T. Kingfisher writes, but I was really, really, like, horror doesn't normally get me. I am like pretty stoic when it comes to horror, but the element of, let me pause here. A Sorceress Comes to Call follows a young girl named Cordelia, who is the daughter of a sorceress who disciplines her by mind controlling her, essentially. And one day, the sorceress decides that she's going to go find herself a rich husband, and Cordelia needs to come along and be compliant with that. And they move away from their little, tumble-down cottage and go off in search of a rich, unmarried man. When she finds herself a victim, the sorceress contrives to have herself and Cordelia invited into the home, where they meet the rich man's sister, Hester, who is immediately suspicious of what's going on. And from there, things unravel. And I loved it. What really got me, as I was saying a minute ago, was just the fear Cordelia held inside her at all times of being mind controlled, and knowing that her mom can mind control other people too. And that at any time, if she ever said anything out of turn, she could all of a sudden just lose all her free will. She was still conscious inside her mind, but she could not control anything. Just that fear was so visceral to me. I could feel it in every scene, every moment that she was in the same room with her mother, and having to carefully calculate each interaction and each movement and where she put her eyes and everything that she said. Anytime that Hester would get close to figuring something out, just feeling that fear of oh no, what is she going to do? How can I convey this? I thought that was really, really well done. My only complaint about this book is that I felt like there was too much of Hester's POV. I really wish, because of all of that I just said, we were more in Cordelia's POV. I was sort of bored with Hester by the end. Yes, we get it. She is the quintessential T. Kingfisher character. She is an older woman who has health problems. She's a little bit heavy. She's unmarried. She's not interested in kids or anything like that. And she's a skeptic. If I had to pinpoint one thing about T. Kingfisher's writing that I am not in love with, it's that there's always a skeptic who holds on to the skepticism well past the point of believability. But anyway, so I was just sort of bored with that perspective. I wasn't really drawn in by her will they, won't they romance with her long lost love. I really wanted more of Cordelia and her experience and her fear and that tension. So I ended up giving A Sorceress Comes to Call 4 stars as well. Just kidding. It was a 4.5. After that, I was finally able to finish The Wild Huntress after an unfortunate library mishap where I had borrowed it at the beginning of the month, not realizing that my loan was about to run out, and then it lapsed, and then I had to get back on the hold list. Anyway, this book was a ride. I went into it kind of dubious because I'm not a huge YA fan, but 92% of this book, really good time. A really good time. I liked the female character. I didn't at first, but she grew on me. I kind of liked one of the male characters, and I liked the other male character. I just don't feel like we got enough of him. But so anyway, the point being, the characters were good. I liked the main thrust of the plot, which follows a magical hunt wherein if you win the hunt, you are granted a boon from this fairy king, and it is supposed to be this show of friendship between the fairy kingdom and this one human kingdom. And so our main female character, Bronwyn, teams up with the prince of another realm because they both want the boon, and she is well known for being a really prolific huntress because she has a magic eye that helps her see the Fae Kingdom. And then during their travels, they meet another young prince of the participating kingdom's family, and they team up together to do this hunt. I loved all that. The ending got me riled. It is the kind of ending that I don't really love and kind of made me unhappy, to be honest with you. And at the time that I finished it, I honestly thought that it went from like being a 4.5 down to a 3. Or even a 2.5. Like, I was that upset about the ending. After I slept on it though, I came back around and realized that the ending is not without merit. It just wasn't to my taste. And it doesn't really take away from the enjoyment I got out of the rest of the book. And so I settled on a 4-star. It takes a left turn. Let's just put it that way. It took a left turn. And then finally, I finished out May with what might be my favorite book I've read this year, with The Golden Enclaves by Naomi Novik. This is the third in the Scholomance trilogy, and I have said it ad nauseum, and I'll say it once more, that this series has really taken me by surprise with how much I love it. In fact, from the moment I finished it, I have been wanting to go back and reread the whole trilogy all over again. And that is not something I experience very often. But I loved this series so much, and The Golden Enclaves to me was almost a perfect ending. I loved it so much, and I can't really, of course, talk about it because it's the third book in a trilogy, but the Scholomance in general is about a young woman named Elle who has been attending this magic school for magically gifted students, because in this world there are malevolent creatures who want to feed on the magic energy possessed by people, and the best way to protect children is to send them to the school to learn how to protect themselves. However, because it's such a high concentration of these yummy snacks, these monsters are constantly trying to get into the school, and so it is still a very dangerous place to be. It's just more dangerous out in the real world without training. So the story follows Elle as she, navigates the school. Unfortunately, her particular brand of magic really wants her to be evil. She has been given a lot of really destructive magic, but she is like, I'm just a girl. I am just trying to live my life and get out of here and go back to my mom and hopefully live in safety. She doesn't want to be evil, but that's sort of like where her magic is pushing her. And because of this, like, people tend to be like, get a vibe from her that they don't like and steer away from her. And that's given her kind of a crusty attitude. But throughout the course of the story, she of course makes friends and keeps them and falls in love. And that is candy to me. That is my favorite kind of story, is when those kinds of girls find friendship and acceptance and belonging and their own community. I loved it so much. I gave it 5 stars. I want to reread it immediately from start to finish. I can't stop thinking about it. And it was a perfect way to finish out another really great reading month. And it made my third 5-star rated book of the year already, when last year I only had 2 total. That's it. That's everything I read in May. I apologize for the lateness of this video. I was going to talk about this in my cozy reset for June, but I ended up not wanting to do a cozy reset. I was on vacation last week, and at no point was I ever like, I want to sit down and film this. So I'll just tell you now that I'm kind of leaning towards taking a step back from creating a lot of content here on this channel. I just don't have the energy for it at the moment. I really am focusing a lot more of my time and attention on my writing stuff, because I really want to be writing more. And I have come to accept that there just are not enough hours in the day to do all of the things I want to do. Of course, if I could, I would love to write and make videos and read and do all of these things. But like, my therapist recently asked me, have you ever thought about how much time it takes to get all your tasks done? And I sat down and I counted it all out, and everything that I wanted to do took about 16 hours. And that wasn't accounting for my day job or spending time with my family or anything. And I had to accept the fact that I just can't do it all. I can't. So I had to prioritize something, and I am prioritizing writing. So going forward, there will probably be most likely just a reading vlog once a week, and maybe a sit down video, just depending on my energy and time levels. So again, I hope to talk more about that in maybe next month's cozy reset. But for now, I really appreciate you. If you are here and you are watching and you do like my content, it means so much to me. I don't want to quit doing book related stuff, and I don't want to quit this channel, because I have no one else to talk about books with, really, other than that little red dot up there and those of you in my comments. Until I become a smashing successful writer and can quit my job, I just do not have the time to be reading and filming and scripting videos and editing them. Like, I think the one thing that content creators don't talk about enough is how long it takes to edit if you are not like super comfortable with that side of things, which I don't think I am. Even though I've been doing this for almost 2 years, I still don't feel super like confident in my abilities, or like I know all the tricks. And when I try to learn, I get really overwhelmed really easily. And so editing a video, this is half an hour. It'll probably take me like 2.5 hours later to edit. And that takes time, during which I cannot be doing anything else. I can't be listening to an audiobook because I have to be listening to what I'm saying. You know, it's just so, anyway, all of that to say, as much as I would love to spend all the time in the world here talking about books and reading all the things and doing really fun content ideas, I really want to do that first line tier ranking video, but I like just coming up with the list of books and then compiling all the first lines has been so intimidating to me because it's so time intensive and I just don't have the time. Anyway, that was a rant. Sorry about that, but if you're wondering what's going on, that's kind of what's going on. I do plan on doing weekly reading vlogs though. You will never not be aware of what I am reading. And with that, thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate it. If you like my content and want to support the channel, please like and subscribe, or consider leaving a comment down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please let me know in the comments which of these books you have read, and if you've read any, which one was your favorite. As I said, in my next video, I will have a weekly reading vlog for you. I hope you look forward to it, and I will see you then. Bye.